Well, hello again, my friends. My name is Chef Ben Katzara of A Cake to Remember. And so, this is episode 2 after we set up our delicious dark chocolate almond mousse dream tort. That has been chilling in our freezer now, and so it's going to be nice and firm for us to ice and to decorate. However, sometimes what I like to do is to create the roses out of my grandma's recipe for buttercream, which is a very simple recipe. It just has eggs, has unsalted butter, little shortening, vanilla extract, and powdered sugar that has been sifted through a sieve. Um, and so, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you the very quick way to the way I make a buttercream rose. So we have our bag here, and I have a large rose tip that you can find at any um, decorating cake decorating store like Michael's or Joann, or you can even order things like this online under cake supplies and maybe Amazon. And so what I'm going to do, instead of piping this much from this hand, I'm going to kill my hand doing this eventually. So what I'd like to do is take about a handful. And today we're making not only like yellow, pale yellow roses with peach tips, if they're two-tone roses. So we're going to also be hopefully making some leaves. And the reason I do this is because they'll be nice and firm for us to pick up and lay onto the iced cake when we're ready to do that. But this way it gets the making of the roses out of the way for us to do. So what I have is also a nail, a Wilton number 7 nail, and it looks just like a nail that you hammer into wood or something like that. And so I'm going to try to make this so you can see exactly what I'm trying to do. And this is just a regular cake board that I'm using. And so also today we're going to be using a regular bag of leaf green buttercream, the same buttercream. It's in a parchment bag, always parchment cone bag, and then we're going to cut it so that it looks like this tip, so that if you don't have this tip that has that V in it, and this is also a Wilton 352 tip, we're going to make this bag and we're going to cut the V in it, and you won't even have to get that tip. So I'm going to show you the way to do that. So we're going to make these pieces for our cake right now. And so we're going to twist the bag, I'm trying to make it to where you can see what I'm doing, to where the thin part of the rose tip is facing up and the bigger end towards the bottom. And I have lined the top of the bag where the thin part of the rose tip is with the peach buttercream. Just opened the bag and filled it with the peach buttercream and filled the rest with a nice pale yellow, so it looks very realistic. My mother always suggests using pale colors for roses because it looks more realistic. And so as we go further with this, we want to make sure that our bag also, we don't want to lose any of the buttercream out of the back. So we're just going to try to tightly push that together and not really, it's kind of an art to get it right. So we're going to start with just making some squiggles back and forth, because this is going to be the inside of our rose. So I'm going back and forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, till we have something that looks similar to this. Okay? Now, again, with that thin part up and the bigger end at the bottom, we're going to, as we're turning, we're going to be turning clockwise. This is the way I do it. Some people do it differently. This is the way I do it. So we're going to start with that thin part on top and slightly at maybe a 45-degree angle on top of the squiggles that we just made. We're going to start piping with our right hand and just kind of do it evenly and make kind of a rosebud tip. This one's kind of sloppy, but as you can see, we have a little bit of a hole there on top. And if you see that your squiggles are kind of moving to the right or left and they look like they're going to fall over, don't be afraid to add a little bit of buttercream to kind of stabilize these squiggles. You see what I did? Okay, so now we're going to go from the bottom and up and around to cover where we left off on that bud. So we're going to go up and down. There will be 3 of these up and downs. Okay, where the rose tip is. 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and then 3. This makes the inner part of the rose. Okay, doesn't look really much like a rose now, but it will. Okay, trying to make it where you can see the inside, and this is where it comes to life. Now this is when it really starts to open up, because that's what a rose does. It opens up from the top and it starts to come down and open. So then from the middle part of your little arch, okay, we're going to start from there, and we're going to make 4 of these arches again, and we start coming up, going around. Start from the middle of that arch, go around, and just keep on doing that until we have this now. So it looks more like a rose. And if your hand gets too close to the top of the nail, hold the nail and just move your hands down. And remember that we're moving our fingers clockwise. So there is an art to this, and it does take practice. Don't give up. Alright, so then again, we're moving from the center of an arch, coming down. We're not trying to make a flat rose, we're making a rose that's dimensional. So we're going to go around, coming down, and we're going to make the 3rd set of petals. And these petals are going to be longer. Each time that we go around, it's going to come down, and the petals are going to become longer. As you get to the bottom, this is our last set, we're going to just make them really flat and coming all around. And it can be bigger. Now, if you can see, that looks very similar to a rose. I have some kind of hot water, because hot water and butter, you know what that does. It melts the butter. So I have some scissors I'm dipping in water to keep them clean. I'm going to take the scissors and go straight into the bottom of the rose and lay it onto our board. So I'm going to open the scissors. Open, and then when you lay it down, you close your scissors. So I'm going right very carefully to the top of the nail, and I'm just going to lift the rose off the nail, just like that. And then I close the scissors and pull fast. And so I don't know if you can see this. We're going to hold it up, and then you can see this looks very similar to a rose. Not only a bud, but the petals as well. So I want to make just a few more of these, just to give you an idea. Some of them vary in size. Some of them look like they're more open. And it doesn't really matter, because nature isn't absolutely perfect, right? It's very organic. We always want to make sure that our tip is clean from any excess buttercream, along with our scissors. So we dip it back into water. I always keep paper towels on hand, because as you've heard in the first tutorial, we want to make sure we clean as we go and make sure we have a nice clean space always to work in. Not only do we clean the tip, but we clean the top of the nail that has that mess on it of buttercream, so it's nice and shiny once more. Again, we're going to make our squiggles just as we first did, and we're going to keep that thin part up to the top. because that's where the peach is, and we want them peach tipped. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do this a little faster. Squiggles. Okay, and then we're going to turn this around, add a little to the bottom so it's nice and steady. Make our bud, and we want to make a closed bud, as closed bud as we possibly can, meaning that there's not a lot of a circle on the very top of it. So at a 45-degree angle, we're going to make this kind of fast, okay, and come down. We kind of made our, the mark on this one. There's a bit of a hole in that on top, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and from top to bottom, we're going to turn clockwise, and feel free with your rose to kind of give it a little shimmy, a little shake if it goes to one side or the other. And you can add a little buttercream, like I said before. And we're just going to go again. Make sure you come down a little bit, making sure that it looks like it's opening up. Okay? And you've seen that before with the first rose I did. And so, I'm going to keep doing that. And so these roses that you'll make are going to look very realistic. This was taught to me by my grandmother a very long time ago when I first started. I'm 37 now. And shake our scissors off. We can wipe them. Sometimes I'm very messy and I use my apron, but I don't want to do that on this camera right now because I want to make a good impression. So again, we just dive into this rose from the top of the nail, lift and lay, closing our scissors and moving quickly. Also, the good thing about we're going to wipe our nail off, and as you can see, when you do this more often, you get quicker and quicker. We're going to wipe our nail, leave it in the water. The water will help, when you put it onto the board, will help the rose slip off a lot easier. So we've made 2 roses. Now, we're going to squish from the right top of the bag, because you'll see that the buttercream tries to squish out, and it's going to run all over your arm if you don't do this. So we're going to just kind of squish with our fingers, twist down, until we get that handful again. We just want a handful, twisting clockwise. All right? And we're going to wipe our tip off again. Okay, close that up for visual purposes. Now, right now, I want to show you how I make a rosebud. You go up, just like this, and then you go down. You go up to the right of it, and then you close it by just like that, making a rosebud. It's very hard to see, but I'm trying to make it without messing up these roses. Just a simple rosebud. These can be a little bit more, there's a lot of freedom with these. The reason I'm making the rosebuds now, and I'm going to make several of them, you know, a little bit of pressure, going up, coming down, up to the right, and then coming down, covering that. So we're just going to make a few of those. That way we have peach-tipped yellow roses, and these are rosebuds. And we're going to make them some big, and they get smaller as we go out to the edge of the rose stem. And so we're going to make several of them, and then when they chill in the freezer or the refrigerator, that butter hardens up. So when we take our scissors, it will be hard enough to where you can just take the scissors and it'll be as easy as lifting the rosebud or the rose onto the cake, as simple as you please. Again, I'm going to show you, and we're going to watch more of this as we decorate the cake. I just wanted to give you a little summary of how the roses will look, and we've made some rosebuds. And so anyway, that's a little tutorial on the rose making process. And if you turn your rose around, you'll see they look different from every angle. Okay? And so I hope this has helped you, and I hope this is going to be something that you'll practice in your time before you actually decorate a cake. I've found it to be easier sometimes, especially if you're making a wedding cake. You want to make those roses nice and firm. And so thank you for tuning in with me. If you want to check out my website to see the kind of cakes that are any possibility, you can do this. Go to www.wowthemwithacake. It'll be right here on the screen. Wowthemwithacake.com. Again, my name is Chef Ben Katzara. I'm right out of here of Lee Summit, Missouri. And this show is A Cake to Remember, my business. And so thank you for tuning in again, and I will see you in episode 3, where we ice our cake, our dark chocolate almond mousse dream torte. And we're going to decorate it with the roses, and we're going to have leaves, and it'll be fabulous. So again, have a delicious day. I'll see you in episode 3.